We're going to tell you some stories about co-creation in the music industry. And we're going to tell you 3 stories specifically. We're going to tell you about one song, one album, and some artificial intelligence technology. And we're going to tell you how that one song, that album, and that technology actually grew to yield 5 #1 singles, 4 Grammys, and some technology that is actually used by over 1 million musicians around the world. And of course, that wouldn't be possible without us all having a very strong network. So I truly love, and my guests here truly love the music industry because the work that we do in co-creating actually yields something really powerful. For us, it yields taking some ideas and turning them into a really tangible art form. Through that process, we help musicians and we help bands and artists realize their full potential. And my favorite piece is we support an entire ecosystem. You see, when we have a track or an artist or an album that is really exploding, that supports the whole ecosystem. Everybody from the content creation side, production, distribution, and consumption. So you have songwriters, producers, audio engineers, musicians, performers, record labels, everybody on the artist and management side. And ultimately, when the artist is successful, that then yields social and philanthropic implications that we can all benefit from. So I look forward to diving in. By way of a quick introduction, my name is Jay LaBeouf. I am the executive director of a nonprofit called Real Industry. And the focus of Real Industry is to help university students understand how the real world works. So how we actually create products in industry, or how the music industry actually works, and some roles that they could do there. I'm also a lecturer at Stanford University, and I am hoping you can give a very warm welcome to my 3 guests. Please welcome up Joe London, Peter Gray, and Greg Mertz. Please sit anywhere and make yourself at home. So Joe is going to start us off by telling us the story of the song Star of the Show.
I guess I'll start by just talking about networking. I like to think of networking almost like a puzzle, where you have, like when you start a project or you start something, you kind of have the 4 corners, and then you fill in the stuff that's kind of easy. And then eventually you have all these like holes. And you really have to utilize what's around those to like really fill them in and kind of get to the point where you're trying to go. And so I thought this song was actually a good representation of that. I had been sent a video of a demo of a song for the artist Thomas Rhett. And the video was a fan-filmed video of him at a show playing the song, months in advance. And it was the only recording they actually had of the song. And they had sent me the video and said, hey, we really want the song produced. This is the only recording we have. Good luck. So I pulled up, opened the video, and kind of did what I thought was the direction that I thought the song should go in. And being from Los Angeles and being more of a pop producer, I'd kind of taken the song sonically to kind of a pop country zone. And Thomas, being a country artist, eventually they heard the initial version of the song, and they loved it, and they thought it could be a single. But we had some holes in the thing where could the song fit for country radio, or was it a little too pop? So eventually bringing in a bunch of different people, a good friend of mine, Julian Bonetta, who's an incredible producer, songwriter, basically showing him the song, being like, hey, what do you think about this? Do you have any ideas? And he loved it, and he has a bunch of great ideas. So Julian came in, then we brought in an amazing steel guitar player named Skip Edwards. From there, added a bunch of slide guitars that made it really, really cool and really more in the country lane. From there, we brought it to one of Thomas's kind of main producer collaborators in Nashville, this legendary producer, Dan Huff. And just basically kept like finding those pieces of the puzzle and getting closer and closer to finding kind of the end goal that we wanted for the song. And in basically finding all those pieces, we got to the song. The song came out and ended up being a successful song. So, yeah.
Should we look at the
yeah, so I think
video?
we have the initial video of the demo that they sent to me, which was kind of terrifying for me.
Because I always tell my wife, when you're the star of the show, I don't do anything. And, do what? Yeah, exactly. She looks amazing. And so this song's called The Star of the Show. I'll see if I can remember the words. It goes like this. Walking down the street, hand in mine, it don't keep them other guys. And they're wondering how I'm looking at you. But that's alright, that's okay. Who can blame them anyway? You're so pretty and you ain't even got a clue what you do. 'Cause they walking down the street, hand in mine, it don't keep them other guys. And they're wondering how I'm looking at you. But it's alright, and that's okay. Who could blame them anyway? You're so pretty and you ain't even got a clue. 'Cause everywhere we go, girl, you're the star of the show. And everybody's wondering and wanting to know what's your name? Who's that girl with the prettiest smile in the world? But what gets me the most is you don't even know that you are the star of the show.
Yeah, so I think you can kind of see, you know, from the initial start of just that real basic acoustic, to go through the processes of utilizing the network that I had and the networks that my co-producers had in the song. You know, we were able to like really take it kind of to the next level of production where it feels a little bit pop and innovative, but also feels kind of country at the same time. And I think we got it to a cool spot. So, yeah.
Fantastic, nice work, and that was a fantastic example of co-creation within songwriting and production.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I'd like to, I told you I'm going to give you one song, an album, and some technology. So let's talk about an album. Peter, welcome. And before we watch that beautiful video again, actually I was hoping you'd tell us a little bit about the heist, kind of set the scene for why this is the album that we're talking about.
Will do. And following on what Joe said, it's important to know that, you know, this is the creative epicenter of how it really starts, right? And it's a team sport as much as you want it to just be an artist or, you know, the people who are really around the nucleus. Once it leaves your hands, right, and the team of producers and the people that you put around it, then it requires an army of people around the world to really be able to deliver an artist and their music to the top of the charts globally. The reason we're talking about Macklemore, which is a great source of pride for me, being a part of a big major label, Warner Brothers Records, there was this artist, Macklemore, Ben Haggerty, who'd been on the scene for a number of years. He'd been very successful as an independent artist, selling out tours here in the United States and around the world, and had gotten to a point in his career where he recognized that something was missing about being able to get kind of paint the world, so to speak, and really finish his breakthrough. And it was getting a song on the radio. And getting a song on the radio is traditionally something that major labels have a bit of a media stranglehold on. Others can try to do it occasionally. They sneak through, and it's exciting when they do, but certainly much more of an exception to the rule. In wanting to maintain his independence and not appear to be saddled up with the man and working with a record company, which we certainly understood, we took a very discreet approach to saying, hey, why don't you let us help? You don't need our help putting your music on Spotify or on Apple Music or iTunes. You have your own independent publicist. You don't need any help making videos. You do a great job of that. You don't need us to take pictures for you, but you do need a song on the radio. We know how to do it, and we can help. So we made a very quiet, very low-key deal, and we maintained our discretion, and we always promised to stay in the shadows, which we have. And the result of that kind of co-creation and collaboration that we have. Went on to a number of big hit singles, and as Jay mentioned, 7 Grammy nominations and 4 wins, and now an album that's sold north of 5 million copies with tens of millions of singles and hundreds of millions, if not billions of streams at this point, and really put Ben and Ryan on the map as a massive breakthrough artist. It was his vision of knowing what he wanted, our understanding of recognizing an ability to do it in a fairly different way. Typically, labels would make a lot of noise about a big breakthrough. They would want the world to know that they had accomplished it. And in the case of this, we simply kept our mouths shut. And as a result, now we're going into his 3rd album that'll be out in a couple of weeks. And we've had a great and collaborative experience with a world-class artist. Does that make sense?
I think it's a really fantastic example of how the capital and the goodwill and the networks that Warner Brothers Records has built is something that an artist can come in and use it to amplify their work and take it to millions and millions of people.
Yeah, and someone mentioned, I think in the last piece too, I know it was the gentleman who was heading to Detroit. It's one thing to want to protect your networks. It's one thing to want to protect and own the relationships. It's so much better when you let them rip. You know what I mean? And you really share it with people. If you're fearful about someone having a better relationship with your partner than you are, then you probably have some work to do. If you can maintain a fearlessness about it, the opportunities for explosive growth, particularly in music, how great would it be if instead of saying, well, I don't want to talk to Max Martin, you called Max Martin and said, hey, we're going to do this together. And the next thing you knew, you were making more records with him or each other. And, there's just a big explosive opportunity that people tend to not want to participate in.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Peter.
My pleasure. No, thank you. Thanks.
So I'll call it like it is. The music industry is not always known for being on the forefront of technology. In fact, we often resist it. But our next story, we're actually going to talk about Greg and how you've actually led the charge to discover new technologies and embrace them within the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jay, for inviting me into the Microsoft team. And, this is quite a special subject matter, really, as I look at it. To connect Burning Man to the powerhouse of Shenzhen back to us and Macklemore is quite an interesting sort of series of unrelated topics that come together in the context of networking. And, it's near and dear to me, although I'm sort of learning more about how I've adapted in this universe in a way that's relevant for the subject matter. The kind of things I've been hearing about today are so central to my life. I'm very active in a lot of civic contexts, politically, and use very powerful networks to drive opportunity there when it comes to political activity and activism. I do it in the international global conservation movement, where I'm very active in networks that drive conservation in Africa and elsewhere. And I bring it heavily into my field of career vocational field, which is the music industry, where I built a deep, strong, and tight network, that cohesive network that we talk about through many years of productive work on behalf of artists through the creative cycle into release and global impact. But then, being a part of an industry that was being disrupted so heavily, and working with artists along that period of disruption, feeling like we would benefit by reaching outside of our cohesive networks, which, by the way, were working beautifully for many years. So we didn't have to adapt in the same way. But I started to see an opportunity to bring some leadership to this area, working in conjunction with a very enlightened leader within the Warner Music Group, Cameron Strang, who was focused as well on how we can expand innovation and our networks. And that led me to actually have the privilege and opportunity to go build out new networks, for example, starting with Stanford University, where I built a program with Warner, and we did a massive online open course where we brought many, many famous artists to the table, reached thousands of people globally, and performed creative tasks at the outcome of that. And then I took that network within Stanford
And as we were pursuing more on the technology front, how could we get in front of technology? Where could we participate earlier in the value chain? I sought out Jay in his adjunct role at Stanford, and he was teaching a course on music information retrieval, which I thought was important category for development of the music industry. Through that, was able to reach networks that brought us to this company called LANDR at a time when it had 3 employees. And this was changing the face through machine learning of the music production cycle at the, through mastering. What I did was I was able to sell that concept to the Warner leadership. We invested in that company, and then serving as a bridge myself through my consultancy, I was able to work deeply with LANDR to drive business development strategies globally. And I've watched that company go from 3 employees to 90 employees. It has millions of dollars in revenue. It is present in 190 countries, and it is translated across 15 languages. There's a very robust and strong community of 1.5 million users, and it's really shaking up in very exciting ways, disrupting, frankly. So we're in on the disruption early in the value chain. We're not waiting for it to happen to us. It's creating tremendous economies of scale, and it's frickin' cool, right? That you can do this with your mobile phone. I mean, the ecosystem is mind-blowing. So I love being part of a music industry that is jumping into that as opposed to waiting for it to hit us. You know what I mean? And by the way, it's not always an easy transition. We have professionals who are afraid of this, but then they start to see that it can coexist, and frankly, they can adapt their skill sets to manage in this changing environment, you know? Bring a little of that Shenzhen mindset to what we're doing. Anyway, so that's the LANDR story, which I'm, you know, one of several I'm participating in, where I found early tech, brought some investment, brought some strategic leadership, and now we're seeing dramatic expansion globally. LANDR is one powerful example that unites Jay and I, and it's a privilege working with these guys, and I continue to work deeply with them. We've brought them across the music business. It's not that Warner is controlling that network and maintaining it as a closed environment. We invest, but we've driven adoption through Universal Music Group, Disney, ASCAP, across the music landscape. So I think it's quite a compelling story of the type of broadening of networks and how that can be powerful.
Fantastic. Thank you, Greg. That was great.
Well said.
So I hope I delivered as promised. Again, to really bring it all together, we all depend on the cohesive networks that we have. They're very tight. We make very intimate, artful, personal, emotional decisions together, and we count on each other. But we all have to keep opening it up. So whether it's Joe, if you want to write for a new genre you haven't written before, you need to reach out to a new network, build trust, credibility, demonstrate some goodwill, and then be welcomed in. Whether it's Macklemore saying, I need extra distribution, I need extra help. Opening up, reaching out, and then Peter being so generous with your contacts and creations and connections. That helps out. And Greg, same thing, you've kind of masterfully reached out, opened up huge parts of the music industry worlds to me and fellow tech industry folks, but then now the tech industry is able to benefit from all the great music connections. So I want to thank you all for giving so much and being here today. And also, again, a huge thanks to Microsoft for supporting us in creating this great event.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you, Joe.